You spent decades doing everything right. You skipped the vacations you could not afford. You drove the same car a few extra years. You said no to things your coworkers were saying yes to. You maxed out your 401k when everyone else was spending. And now, somewhere in your late 50s or early 60s, you are staring at a number that once felt like a dream. $1 million saved for retirement. And for one quiet moment, you feel it. That deep exhale kind of peace, like you finally made it. But here is what nobody warns you about. That number, the very thing you worked your whole life to build, can become the thing that slowly unravels everything if you are not careful about who you tell. And I do not mean that in a dramatic way. I mean it in the most real, human, kitchen table kind of way. Because I have watched it happen to people just like you. Good people, careful people, people who did everything right for 30 years and then made one honest, well-meaning comment at a family dinner, and nothing was ever quite the same again. So today I want to talk to you about something most financial channels will not touch. Not just the math of retirement, but the human side, the emotional side, the side where real families and real friendships and real guilt get tangled up in a number that most people around you do not fully understand. If you are 45, 52, or 60 years old and closing in on that $1 million milestone, this is the most important thing you will hear today. Here is the first thing you need to understand. When you say the word million to someone who has not spent 30 years studying their 401k statements the way you have, they do not hear what you mean. They hear something else entirely. Think about your brother-in-law in Columbus, Ohio, who is still paying off credit card debt. Think about your daughter in Phoenix who is renting because she cannot save for a down payment. Think about your best friend from college who had to cash out his retirement account at 48 to cover a medical emergency and never fully recovered from it. When they hear we retired with $1 million, they do not picture careful withdrawal rates and Medicare gaps and 30 years of inflation. They picture freedom. They picture abundance. They picture a cushion so large that helping them would barely make a dent. Warren Buffett has said for decades that the first rule of money is do not lose it. And what most people around you do not realize is that giving it away under social pressure is just a slower, quieter way of losing it. And here is the painful truth. According to Federal Reserve data, the median retirement savings for Americans aged 65 to 74 is right around $200,000. So when you walk into a room with $1 million saved, you are not just comfortable. In the eyes of most people around you, you are wealthy beyond what they have ever experienced. And that changes things. It changes how your adult kids look at you. It changes how your siblings talk to you. It changes the quiet expectations that start to form around every holiday dinner, every family crisis, every phone call that begins with, "I hate to ask, but..." And the hardest part is, the people building those expectations love you. They are not trying to take from you. They simply do not know what they do not know. Let me tell you about a couple I will call Robert and Carol. Robert spent 28 years as a civil engineer outside of Chicago. Carol worked part-time while raising their 3 kids, then went back full-time in her early 40s. Together, by the time Robert was 62 and Carol was 59, they had built just over $1.1 million between their IRAs, their 401ks, and a small brokerage account. Social Security was still a couple of years away. They were proud. They were careful. And at a Thanksgiving dinner in Naperville, when Robert's brother asked casually, "So are you guys okay? Did retirement actually work out?" Robert said honestly and warmly, "Yeah, we're good. We ended up right around $1 million." He was not bragging. He was just being real with the people he loved. But from that Thanksgiving forward, something shifted. Within 6 months, their oldest son called about a down payment on a house in Austin. He needed $40,000. "It is only 4% of what you have, Dad." Their daughter needed $8,000 after a layoff left her short on rent. A sibling reached out about a business idea that needed just a small investment to get started. And every single ask came wrapped in the same quiet logic. "You have plenty. This is a small piece of what you have. You can afford it." And because Robert and Carol loved their family, they said yes. And then yes again. And then yes again after that. Here is where the emotional trap closes around you. When the people you love believe you have plenty, saying no stops feeling like a financial decision. It starts feeling like a character flaw. You start asking yourself, are we being selfish? They are struggling and we are sitting on $1 million. What kind of parents say no to their own kids? That guilt is real and it is heavy, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your actual financial reality. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard and one of the most respected financial minds in American history, spent his career warning ordinary investors about exactly this kind of quiet erosion, the small, emotionally justified decisions that compound into devastating outcomes over time. He called it the tyranny of costs. In retirement, emotional giving is its own version of that same tyranny. Because here is what $1 million actually is in retirement in America today. It is not a pile of money sitting in a vault waiting to be spent. It is an income engine. And that engine runs under strict, unforgiving rules. If you follow the 4% withdrawal guideline, the standard benchmark most CFPs use for a sustainable 30-year retirement, that $1 million generates roughly $40,000 per year before federal and state taxes. $40,000 a year. That has to cover your housing costs, because many Americans in their early 60s still carry a mortgage. Your health insurance, because if you retire before 65, you are not yet on Medicare, and a marketplace plan for a couple in their early 60s can easily run $1,500 to $2,000 a month depending on your state. Your car, your homeowner's insurance, your property taxes, groceries that cost more every year because inflation does not care that you are retired. And then 25, 30, maybe even 35 more years of all of it. Because Americans are living longer than any previous generation in history. And that is a beautiful thing that comes with a very real price tag. That $40,000 a year is not excess. For couples living in cities like Denver, Nashville, or Miami, it is often barely enough. And every unplanned withdrawal, every emotionally driven yes to a family request, does not just spend money. It disrupts the sequence of your withdrawals at exactly the wrong moment. It can force you to sell investments during a market downturn. It chips away at an engine designed to run for decades, and once that engine starts losing power, you cannot simply refuel it. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner at Berkshire Hathaway, put it plainly, "Show me the incentive, and I will show you the outcome." When the people around you believe you have unlimited flexibility, their incentive, even unconsciously, is to keep asking. And your incentive, driven by love and guilt, is to keep saying yes. That cycle does not end on its own. You have to end it. You are 63 years old. You are not going back to work to replace $50,000 you gave away out of guilt. And it is not just family. Friendships shift too, in ways that sneak up on you quietly. You go out to dinner with longtime friends in Charlotte or Sacramento, the check comes, and without anyone saying a word, there is a new gravitational pull in your direction. You are the one who can handle it. Or a group trip gets planned and someone says, "Oh, come on, you are retired, you guys can swing it." Or they joke about you being the wealthy ones now, and it is funny until it is not. Until your generosity stops being seen as a gift and starts being seen as a baseline expectation. Until saying no makes you the difficult one. Until you find yourself at 64 spending money you did not plan to spend because the social discomfort of saying no has become more painful than the financial damage of saying yes. I have had clients in their early 60s tell me they felt more financial anxiety after retiring with $1 million than they ever felt while working. Not because of the stock market, because of people. So what do you actually do? It starts with understanding that privacy is not dishonesty. You do not owe anyone your account balance. Your spouse? Yes. Your CFP? Absolutely. Your CPA? Of course. But your adult children do not need a dollar figure to feel loved by you. Your siblings do not need your net worth to feel close to you. Your friends do not need your account balance to value your company. Warren Buffett himself has lived in the same modest house in Omaha since 1958, a house worth a tiny fraction of his net worth, precisely because he understood that visibility invites pressure, and pressure destroys discipline. You can be warm, generous, and fully present in every relationship you have without ever revealing that number. Protecting your financial information is not coldness, it is wisdom, and it may be one of the kindest things you can do for the relationships you treasure. Because the moment that number enters the equation at scale, the dynamic shifts in ways that are very hard to undo. Second, if people already know, you can still reset the narrative. You can say something honest and true like, "We work with a financial planner and everything is structured around a monthly income we cannot go beyond without disrupting the whole plan." Or, "This money functions like a pension for us. If we pull from it beyond what the plan allows, we risk running out in our 80s and eventually having to rely on you. And we never want that for any of us." That second framing lands with remarkable clarity almost every time. It reframes your no completely. Suddenly it is not about being stingy. It is about protecting them from a future where you become their financial burden. Third, change the question you ask yourself every time a request comes in. Stop asking, "Do we have the money?" Start asking, "Is this in the plan?" Because the answer to the first question will almost always feel like yes, and that yes will cost you more than you realize. The answer to the second will keep you grounded. Peter Lynch, the legendary Fidelity fund manager who averaged over 29% annual returns, always said that the investor's worst enemy is not the market, it is the investor themselves. In retirement, your worst enemy is not inflation or a market crash. It is the unplanned decision made under emotional pressure on a Tuesday afternoon when someone you love calls and needs help. The plan exists precisely for those moments. Let it do its job. The retirees I have watched thrive. Truly calm, truly confident, 15 years into retirement with their options still intact, are not the ones who gave the most. They are the ones who protected the structure, quietly and consistently. They understood that $1 million is not a gift to be distributed. It is a machine that has to keep running. And every dollar that leaves beyond the plan is not just money leaving, it is options leaving. It is the version of your 79-year-old self who does not need to move in with your children, slowly disappearing. You worked for 30 years, through recessions, through layoffs, through a kind of quiet sacrifice your family will never fully see, to give yourself freedom in this final chapter. Freedom from alarm clocks, freedom from performance reviews, freedom from answering to someone else's vision of what your days should look like. Do not trade that freedom for approval. Do not let guilt quietly rewrite the ending of a story you spent a lifetime writing carefully and well. The smartest, most loving thing you can do right now, for yourself, for your spouse, for your health, and for every relationship you have built, is to keep your number private, protect your structure with the same discipline you used to build it, and walk into this chapter with the quiet confidence you have actually earned. You built this. Now protect it like it matters, because it absolutely does.